morning. Welcome to the Dogman. My name is Mike, and it is an early Saturday morning. And I'm full of energy, man. Had some deep sleep last night. I mean, deep. You know, some nights you toss and turn. Some nights you just get a deep sleep, and that's what I got. That's what I needed. And ready to go today. All right, let's jump right on to whatever we're going to talk about. Let me see. Let me compute. See what comes up with. Oh, that subject. Oh. Well, let's see. All right. Often, I get a lot of comments on why don't you petition, lobby, do whatever you got to do to get these laws changed to where not so many dogs are being dumped, blah, 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 this and that. In other words, try to get laws put in place to where there are not, you know, let's use Minnesota for an example, okay? They have such strict laws on dogs that they cannot get dogs, which is a good thing for the South that doesn't have the strict laws, because that's a place that we can send dogs, okay? I was in the dog rescue business. If you're not familiar with that, that is the MO. You don't adopt them back out to the people, the very people that dumped them. You send them up north where they will be adopted, in almost every case they are, because they're just not in the shelters there because of strict spay and neuter laws. And no states in the South have those. Well, if there were any laws that could be changed down here, that would be one of them. But on the other side of the coin, and the coin has a few other sides. So let's get into that. People in the South are big into hunting, as there are a lot of people I saw when I lived in some northern states. They're into that. Depends where you live. Most city people don't even, they're lucky if they ever see a squirrel in their life. And down here, they use them for hunting. They use dogs, okay? I am not one to squash anybody's culture or anything. Some of these dog hunters are very, very good to their dogs. Some of them are not. So we get overpopulated with hunting breed dogs, okay? And there's other breed dogs. Another trend, and this is everywhere in the country, all the young people want to have a pit bull. Get a pit bull. Guess what? Young people are not responsible enough to own their own homes where they can have their pit bull. Okay, it's a trend. It's a status symbol. You should never get a dog to be a status symbol. You're going to see my mood swing in this video, I'm sure, because I'm talking about dogs. So 90% of the dogs in the shelters are, guess what breed? Pit bulls. So, and it is the younger people. And let me tell you, the pit bull is a very good breed of dog. I love them. I've had them. I've had a lot of them in the shelter. We go right into the pen with them, pet them. They're just as loving as any other dog. But they're not loving when you dump them after you've had them for 6 months. Okay, they're getting them for a status symbol. They're getting them because they think no human should ever get a dog for protection. Okay, that's not what that's not what they do. Okay, you should never get a dog with the intent that's only for protection, because you're fooling yourself, and that dog doesn't deserve that. So back to the laws. You start, and I'm going to tell you firsthand, I see it, and I see it more now, as more people move into Arkansas, Oklahoma, the southern states. They're all flocking here. So don't be fooled. They're coming here by choice. No, ain't nobody putting a billboard up in California saying, "Hey man, I got some vacant land next to me. Come on and take it. It's cheap." But what is happening is, and I'm guilty too, because when I came here 12 years ago and I seen the sad situation with all the dogs running around loose, starving looking, ticks all over them, I thought I was going to do something about it. You know what? You can't get anything done about it. But as more and more people move here from out of state, from places like California and Illinois, where the laws are ridiculous, you start changing those laws, and if you get enough population of out-of-towners, they can change the government. They can enact laws and codes and things we don't want. One of the good reasons for living here is we got a lot of freedom with, like where I live. There's no building codes. I can go out and build a teepee in my backyard, and nobody's going to bother me and tell me, oh, you need a plumbing inspection. But they're moving here, and they're used to those laws, and without those laws, they feel unsafe. They need these laws to keep them in line, and you don't. Laws, in the beginning, we had hardly any laws. People, groups of people, masses of people, you have to have those laws. Otherwise, it's crazy. So when you see that I get angry about people moving here, well, that is one of the reasons why, because I see it changing. Right now, in the county I'm in, we're good because, nobody is in office that is not from here that I know of. Most of these people here have been here for generations, 150 years. Is their government good? Not always, but they leave me alone. That is my key. I am not one that seeks out groups of people to hang out with. I'm never going to be that guy. Leave me alone. Unless you really need some help or something, leave me alone. That's the kind of guy I am, and I'll help anybody. But I don't want masses of people from everywhere around me, especially if they're bringing their same law-loving values in my backyard. So if you start changing, and yes, a lot of the dog laws, but here's the issue. There are laws in place here. There is a federal law. Dumping a dog is now a felony, and it's a big felony. It's not a small, just above misdemeanor felony. It's a big felony. A Class D, I believe. But a law is only as good as the people that enforce it, and they do not enforce it here. The county I am in is very, very big. So you have a sheriff's department, and in this county you have little towns that might have, Waldron, I think, has 10 police officers. They don't usually go outside of the city limits, but I've seen them right across the street from me. If the sheriff's department is busy and can't respond, then maybe a city cop will. They have done that in the past. But it is so widespread. How are you going to enforce laws when you don't have the manpower to enforce them? Or manpower, you're going to call somebody for abuse of a dog. By the time it may take him an hour and a half to get here. This county is so big. And that's the way a lot of Arkansas counties are. And we want to keep them big. We don't want big cities full of people growing up. So it's very easy to say, well, why don't you guys do this and change these laws? But once that begins, I might as well move to New York City. I might as well move to San Francisco. I might as well tear my house down there or call the inspectors. Say, hey, man, come inspect my house because I don't feel good that I followed the law. So you do not move to places like this bringing with you the reasons you left, the place you're from. And that's what's happening. And as much as people will not admit it, deep down they're still enjoying the government doing everything for them. They enjoy that. They're used to that. And you get here and they're just not breathing down your neck, and some of them don't know what to do. So I could ramble on this for days. So when I read comments of why didn't you do this, why don't you do that, trust me, all that has been tried over and over and over, and it's usually people that have just moved here and see it's a culture shock for them. But to start changing laws, and believe me, I love dogs. I hate seeing dogs go hungry. They come to my place, I'll feed them. And I don't want to have to deal with that. But if I'd rather deal with that than to have to deal with have an electrician, inspector come inspect my place, or plumbing inspector. Why you would even move somewhere in Arkansas that you have to do that, because there's so many places you don't, is beyond me. But it's because you're used to it. And, you know, what are you going to do? You know, one man doesn't change it. But if one man speaks up and gets a lot of people involved and vote people out that have kept these small little towns, you know, I've seen the town I grew up in Oklahoma had 10,000 people in it. Now it's over 100 and approaching 150,000. Do I want that for here? I do not. And I will fight that. You know, I will fight that like crazy. I don't want 8,000 people moving here a month. But there's a lot of things we're never going to be able to control, and that's probably one of them. The population, I don't know how they come up with it. The population is shrinking. It is definitely not shrinking. What is happening is the bigger populations, they're moving, you know. And the only ones you don't see anywhere other than South Florida is New Yorkers. They just don't move anywhere else but South Florida. And that's a good thing. You know, they can stay there. I've been to South Florida. It is like a miniature, and I've been to New York City. In South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, down that way is all New Yorkers, and that's exactly what it feels like down there. They're rude. There's traffic everywhere. I mean, the whole east coast of Florida, from the top to the bottom, is nothing but a huge city. And I did not like it. I like the weather, but anywhere you got good weather, you've got tons of people. And even though the weather sucks here, there's not a ton of people. But the weather isn't bad enough here that it's going to keep the people away. So this video was not a rant about people moving. This is a rant about why, when you start changing the little laws, well, what are you accomplishing by moving here? You're just rebuilding what you just left. And we don't want that. I don't want that. I've lived in a lot of cities, lived in a lot of rural areas, and man, this is freedom here. But I know it's not going to last. It's on the way out. I already know that. I mean, you go by the U-Haul place, it's full. And it's full because people are turning trucks in. You go to a U-Haul place in California, you can't get one. And I've also talked to the U-Haul guy. He says it's unbelievable. I've talked to the lady at the where you get your driver's license, the DMV. But there's nothing I can do to stop it. I'm pretty happy knowing that my little area here, you know, there's no land for sale yet. But I got a pasture next to me that could be for sale that somebody could move. And I'm not against having neighbors. I just don't want too many neighbors. Okay, you got to be careful today how many people you bring into your circle. Because in a tight situation, they'll turn on you in a heartbeat. Don't think they won't. All right, guys. Well, this one probably won't be popular, but just wanted to talk about why I don't want laws. You know, when you start changing laws, you open yourself up to a lot of trouble. Happy trails. Feel free to comment, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. We'll see you tomorrow.